All right, here we go again. Buckle up. Rough roads ahead. Again, like, how do you get to the point? How did I get to the point? I was telling her about that I believe I was drugged in Omaha, Nebraska. But how did I get to that conclusion? That's I had to go back in time at that point. So I had to bring up the contractors in the Marshal Service that asked me to go to lunch. Now I told her. Now more, I'm a little more honest with her than all of you because I'm not trying to investigate her. So I told her, I said, look, I can't tell you whether a single one of those contractors was involved because I believe there was a wiretap, but I can't tell you they're not. Because anybody that knew that I was going to lunch at the Wharf Rat, which included officers that had access to a wiretap and possibly, I don't know, possible cameras in the courthouse, where they may have had hidden um, cameras at that point. I mean, that's part of what it was to get that kind of access to the courthouse. As to why that missing money and all that existed. So again, I didn't just like out of the blue say, oh, maybe I was drugged because I had already been drugged. There's no doubt that I was drugged at a scheduled lunch date at the Wharf Rat. And that lunch date was with two Dynacore contractors working for Seized Asset. And that date fell into a period of time that I was being isolated while I was attempting to seek women. Thank you, Larry. Now, I was definitely drugged. And I definitely was accosted by Customs Frank on the way back. I'd give you his last name if I could remember it. He's the guy that when I went come around the corner of the courthouse, I'm like, I I believe, I just ate the worst right. I'm getting sick, and he starts yelling at me. Not like it wasn't. Oh, you're lucky that if that's all that happens to you. And Customs Frank, I'd helped out of jams when he needed help, whenever he needed help, for like 10 years at that point. So again, I should have been his best buddy, not the people that paid him money to do that to me. I believe he was there to kill me. If I had eaten all that stuff, I probably would have been naked running through the front of the courthouse with my gun, and they'd have shot me and killed me. That was their goal. I wasn't shy at that point. It had gone on long enough that I just stood right up and said, "Look, I'm getting sick off of what I just ate. I'm gonna go back to the courthouse." And they said, "Well, don't you want to take that with you?" I'm like, "Nah, that can stay right there." And in fact, I think you're all probably fucking murderers, but I didn't say that. And you probably have something to do with Jonathan Luna's death. So I went back. He yells at me, "Look, if that's all that happens to you," and I'm all drugged. I'm like, "Oh shit!" Right. So Customs Frank was another propped up CIA crony. I went in, I told her I went in and tried to, drink water and try to bring myself back to a condition where I could work in the courthouse. I'm not a person that's allergic to food. I'll just tell you that. It'd have been good if I was. I'm one of those like gastronomical geniuses or gastronomical connoisseurs. I love food. At the time I was a big cook and all, and I was not allergic to that food. But because they wanted to get me so bad, they put too much in. So instead of it affecting me maybe like an hour later, a half hour later, or when it's too late after I ate it all, it's when I took that first bite. And maybe they wanted me to leave the table or to say something to the people that I was sitting with. It was instantaneous. Food poisoning is not going to affect you instantaneously. And again, I was drugged. I know the effects of being drugged. So I finally told my boss, I got to go. I'm coming down with something. And he's like, well, we come in early tomorrow. I need you to do something. I said, well, if I'm well enough. And I was like, I need to go. And I left. And it was a pretty rough ride home. I made it. And then I drank water for about another hour or so. And I was well. So they call their deep state people and have them in the area while they're drugging someone. And for all I know, those cops in Omaha were deep state because they should have took me to the hospital. Had zero memory of anything. Their thing was they told me that I didn't show up in a marshal's database. I'm like, our names are not in databases that you can access. For some reason, like there was a law enforcement database that they could access, and I'm like, my name is not in a law enforcement database that you can access. I was actually shedding doubt on the fact that I was a deputy U.S. Marshal. It was a setup. When I went to the courtroom like a couple days later, because I slept for 2 days after they drugged me, I woke up like that morning, went into the courtroom, and I was trying to talk to them, and they wouldn't accept. So it was a setup. I tried to tell the judge, I was trying to communicate with the judge that I was a deputy U.S. Marshal, but nobody was listening. Nobody would listen to it. I mean, I guess they thought I'd be killed in the jail, but yeah, I do fine. And I was a correctional officer. I know how to carry myself in a jail. In fact, the whole time I was in the jail, I downed the stock market and crashed. Well, they should have got me out of there the first day. Right. Their game. I was just reckless. I was drugged. I got a reckless driving thing. Of course, they try to play it off as something else. But what I told her, I said, "Look, I don't believe I was drugged with what I drank because it was too obvious. And of course, it can't happen. Well, because I go to Starbucks. The chances of me going to a random Starbucks, grabbing a green tea, and having it drugged are slim to none. But what the guy did is he walked up. He made it too obvious. He walked up, and as I was drinking my green tea, he said, "Go back to the crazy hospital." I'm like, "Crazy hospital? I've never been in the crazy hospital." So he wanted me to believe it was in my tea. It was probably on the door of my vehicle or a steering wheel. They drugged me. No doubt. So the question is, why did I think I was drugged there? I mean, not her question, but my explanatory thing, the question Amy would ask was before they had tried. And I guess I actually was drugged. I just stopped eating all the food. And again, it was on a date with a woman. Say, again, it was just a lunch date with two coworkers per se. But well, I suspected something was up when she showed me her bra strap. Like, why'd she do that? Like it was just it's designed to look like maybe she was adjusting her bra strap, but it looks like she had like black sexy lingerie on. She wanted me to see that. Right, it was happening in that front area where the Seas Asset people were contractors working. She's a younger redheaded woman. And then there was the older, I guess, dirty blonde headed woman who was thinner and I think a little shorter. I could point her out in the lineup if you show me photos from the time. So I have no idea who was running it all, but they were trying to take over the federal community in Baltimore. Yeah, it came back as being CIA, but I don't know if that's true. Somebody at least affiliated with CIA. So who do we think's running the fusion center? Who do you think? CIA. Yeah, it's a Pinochet uh, type of operation, Gaddafi type operation. Stay peaceful.